G'day guys, thank you for joining me. Now if you saw the last video that I posted last week, I was talking about the fact that I'm going back to the Overland Track in Tasmania to walk it for what will be now the third time. The first time I walked it was in 2006 during our big lap around Australia, and you can actually see that if you go back a few videos. You'll see episode 10 of the big lap on our channel here. But now, and I went again in 2010, and now I'm going again in 2024. So very excited to be getting back there. It is an awesome track. It's one of those ones that doesn't matter that you've done it once or twice. You just want to keep going back and back and back. So what I'm going to do in this video, I'm doing a few videos before I go, just to give you a bit of a sense of how I'm getting organised. In the last one I talked about some of the training I was doing. This one I'm going to talk all about the gear that I'm taking, and then once I've run through all the gear here, I'm going to chuck it on my back, and we're going to jump on a train and head down to East Coast Park. I'm in Singapore, and we're going to be camping out for the night. When I say we, I mean I am going to be camping out for the night, just because I want to test it all out. A lot of this stuff is new, and I have never used it before, so I want to basically use it for the first time right here in Singapore, where if there's something that's no good or broken or not going to be any good for the track, I've got now basically about 5 days to get it sorted out before I jump on a plane next Thursday, which is about six days from now, and head on down to Tassie. I've used a website called lighterpack.com, and you've probably heard of it before, but if you haven't, it's a fantastic little tool. It's a free resource. You go in there and you can actually build your gear list. You put the weights to all the different items in there, and it gives you an ongoing sort of idea of how much your whole kit's going to weigh. And I've basically used that quite meticulously to plan what I'm going to take, organised by different departments: clothing, cooking gear, sleeping gear, etc. And I'll share that with you. I'll make it a public list, and I'll put a link to it in the video below this, so you can go and see what I'm taking in absolute detail. I'm going to give you a quick overview here, but you can actually go and see all the nitty-gritty detail there, and hopefully that helps you to plan your own trip. Alright guys, well now one of the things that I've done with this, I bought a lot of new gear. I've got, I think maybe 4 or 5 packs that I've used over the last 25 years. My oldest one I've still got is a MacPack Ascent, which I bought in 2000 and used on the Overland Track the first time and the second time. It's still perfectly functional, but the reality is you buy this quality gear and it will literally last you a lifetime if you look after it. But I'm a bit of a gear nerd, so I like to try new things as well. Technology changes, things get better, and so I thought for this trip I'm not going to just bring out all my old gear and use it again. I want to try some new stuff. Anyway, so I got this pack. Now this is a 50. It's a 4 class is the actual Decathlon brand. I think the actual model number is a MT500 Air. They say 60 plus 10 litres, so 60 litres inside plus 10 litres of sort of pockets on the outside. Not sure I'm massively excited about the colour, but it only had one colour option. But I like the structure of it. I like the way it's designed. I reckon it's got a good harness. Well, we'll find out. I'm going to give it. I've never really worn it more than sort of half an hour just around here, just to sort of get a feel for it. But I'm going to wear it for about an hour this afternoon, because once I get off the train, I've got about an hour's walk to where I'm going to camp. So it's going to start to get a good workout today. But I like the look and feel of the harness, and when I tried it on the store, it felt fantastic. It's got all the the adjuster straps that you need. It's got nice big pockets on the belt there, and everything about it's good. It's basically got the features that a good high-end pack has, but for a pack that was, I think they're like in Australia they're like $250 or something like that. And it's got a good use of pockets. It's got a big pocket down the bottom, and I'm going to open it all up and show you in a sec, but I'll just give you a bit of an overview. It's got a big pocket down the bottom. It's got these big ones on the side. Now normally on the side of the pack you have these sort of bucket pockets down the bottom, and you can slot stuff in the side, like your tripod or your walking sticks or things like that. What this has done instead is they've put these big pockets on here, and I quite like that, because you can actually put a lot more gear in there. And then what we've got is on this side we've got this little sort of slide-in pouch which you can get to while you've got it on. And I'm going to use this for my GoPro, because I'm going to be vlogging basically the trip. Now the camera I'm filming this on is a bigger one, and I'm going to have that strapped onto my harness here. But the GoPro can actually just slot in here like that. So as I'm walking, I can just reach around, pull it out, have a chat, tell you what I'm looking at and all that sort of stuff, and then slot it back in there. So it's like a bit of a holster almost. So I thought that was a fantastic feature. I love that. And then on the other side we've got a similar thing, but dedicated for a drink bottle. This is a 800ml drink bottle. It's actually, I got this from Decathlon too. It was about $4, and it was honestly the lightest bottle I could find. I've tried hard to get the weight of everything down here, and when you have a look at the lighterpack.com list, you'll see what I've got everything down to. I think my total weight, including food and all my camera gear and 1.5 litres of water, is just under 20 kilos. Not bad. I mean, realistically, if I took out the camera gear, which is nearly 4 kilos, you know, you're talking reasonably like in the 15 kilo range. Not bad, including 8 days worth of food. So anyway, I love the fact that's just a dispenser, so I can reach around and pull it out. Now, I could put a bladder in here and have a big tube coming over my shoulder there, but realistically that doesn't work on a trip like this because the pack is too full. The pack is going to be chock-a-block full of my gear, and I've got no room to have a water bladder in there. So that's a much better option. And there's plenty of water available on the Overland Track. There's rivers and streams all over the place, so you don't have to carry a lot of water. I'll have that for drinking. I'll fill it up out of the streams as I go along. And I've got 2 of these, which are part of the Sawyer Squeeze filter system. 2 of these 1 litre pouches, which is what I'll basically fill up, and I can actually just slot them in the front here. They can actually sit into this here, and I'll basically only fill them up once I'm either at the huts or getting close to the huts. There's no point lugging that water around all day. And I can just drop it in there. I'll probably only fill up 1 at a time. That's just for the water to, rehydrate the meals that I'm going to eat when I'm at the hut. Now I've got my Gators. Most people will take longer Gators, and I do have a longer pair of Gators. And they're good if you're sort of going really off track and you're going through thick scrub, especially spin effects and things like that. They'll sort of protect your lower legs from getting spiked and so on. But the Overland Track being a well-used and well-maintained track, most of the time you're going to be on fairly made tracks or boards anyway. So the last 2 times when I have used longer Gators, I didn't really feel like I really needed them, and so this time I'm just going for some shorter ones, which will sort of protect my legs from halfway down my shin. And I think they'll be fine, and they're just a little bit lighter. Every gram counts. So I'll just explain. I'm using these outside pockets for sort of things that I would use while I'm on the track. So that the idea being that I don't have to really go deep into my pack while I'm on the track. So if we stop for lunch or whatever, my food and stuff will be right in the top. And if it rains, then my wet weather gear is all on the outside in these 2 pockets, including the cover, as you'll see. So on this side I've got my rain pants, which will go straight over the top of my other pants, and my other water filter bag as well. So I've got 2 litres in bags plus 800 mils. 2.8 litres is heaps. Moving over to this side, this is the actual cover that came with the backpack that will go. It's a rain cover that will go over because the pack is not waterproof at all, but that is. So if it rains, I'll just stop, chuck that over, chuck my rain pants on, and away we go. And my rain jacket, which is hanging up downstairs. So I've got a Gore-Tex, a Black Wolf Gore-Tex jacket. It's actually the one I bought for the Overland Track back in 2005. And in the interest of buying some new gear, I was actually looking around for a new jacket, thinking, I'll treat myself to a new jacket. Maybe I can get one a bit lighter. That one's not super light. It's about 450 grams. So, these days the technology's gotten a bit lighter. And I was looking around, and also I just didn't find anything that I thought was that much better that was worth spending the money on. So I'm just going to keep using my old faithful Black Wolf jacket. One of the things I love about it, and I'll insert a clip here to show you, is the fact that it's got pockets halfway up, like at sort of chest level. And that's fantastic because when you're you're hiking along and you've got your belt of your backpack on and your straps here, and it's cold and raining, you want to kind of put your hands in your pockets, and you can actually get to them. Jackets that have the pockets too far down, those pockets end up getting buried underneath your waist belt, and you've got nowhere to put your hand. So you can do up the hip belt and the chest strap and still get to the pockets, which is pretty good. Also means if it's if it stops raining for a bit and you're getting a bit hot, you can just open the pockets. They've got mesh inside there, so they're like vents as well. So yeah, it's pretty good design. That a lot of the pockets are down lower, and they end up disappearing under the hip belt when you're wearing your pack. So I'm just going to keep going with that jacket until something better and more amazing comes along, and then I'll buy that instead. Now up the top here, this is where you sort of put your bits and pieces that you want to be able to get to easily. This is my ditty bag, as they call it, which is just the bits and pieces bag, and I'll open that and go through it with you in a minute. Cutlery, a couple of titanium, a long spoon for eating the rehydrated meals, and a fork because I will be having noodles a fair bit. Also from Decathlon, a little 10-litre backpack, so that when we sort of leave our packs and go off on a detour off a side track, you know, go up to a lookout or a waterfall or whatever, you might be gone for a few hours. You want to take a few bits and pieces, but you don't need to lug your whole pack around. So you can leave your pack at the junction of the track. I can get this one out. It only weighs like barely, I don't know, 80 grams or something like that. It's on the list anyway. It weighs almost nothing, so it's just a little one. I can just chuck a few bits and pieces in, you know, some snacks, bottle of water, and head on off the side track. And I've also got this is a dry bag. This is my technology, basically. This is all my tech bits and pieces. Given that I'm taking a couple of cameras, are going to be filming, I need a bit of backup battery power, so I've got two power banks. I've taped them together. These are Nightcore. I think they are the NB 10,000 and the NB 20,000, so 30,000 milliamps of battery power there. I've whacked a bit of gaffer tape around them just to hold them together, because there's no point in them being separate, and it's somewhere to put the gaffer tape that I might need for other things. So hopefully that's going to be enough with the batteries and everything I've got for the camera, and recharging my head torch, and recharging my satellite communicator, recharging my Apple Watch, all that sort of stuff. So they go in the tech pouch, and then I've got a little sort of it's probably actually a toiletry bag, but I use this as a little tech pouch where I've got spare batteries, cables, and all that sort of stuff. I'm going to do a video at the end of this series and run you through all of my camera gear, in case you're interested. Some people are interested, some people couldn't care less, but I want to do it as a separate video just so that it's there specifically for people who want to watch it. And I'll get down to the nitty-gritty and what my whole travel camera kit is, because I've made a lot of change to it over the last couple of years. When I filmed the Big Lap series back in 2005, 6 and 7, I had a very large camera and a large heavy tripod and a big microphone, and batteries were about this big, and I lugged it all down the Overland Track, and I think the total was about 7 kilos in all up. But now my new camera kit is I think 3.5, 4 kilos, including that backup battery. It's like way lighter, infinitely better quality, and so I'll do a separate video where I'll run through the whole thing for anybody who's interested. But I'll save that to the end, because then I can sort of talk about, oh, you know, I used this camera to get that shot, and this worked, or this didn't work. All right, now let's have a look inside. This is my cooking kit, and this is mostly all new stuff that I bought. Little titanium pot. It's actually quite a big titanium pot, if I'm honest. 1.3 litre pot. Maybe bigger than what I need, but I just felt like for the little amount of extra weight, it was kind of better to have a larger pot if I need it. I've got a little pouch in there which I put some dishwashing liquid in. I even put a label on it. How's that, eh? Just so I don't forget what it is. Got some hand sanitizer and lighter. This is it's actually I feel like a magician pulling stuff out of my hat here. This is actually a little, you know, travel towel, which I'm going to use as like a tea towel, and I cut a sponge, a scour in half, because I don't need the whole thing. I mean, it weighs such a trivial amount, and a little sponge as well. Now, and I've also got my stove in here. Now this is a new stove that I bought. And I got this off AliExpress, believe it or not, so it wasn't expensive. I think it was about $50, which is not too bad. And the idea of it is this sits flat on the table, and I got it specifically so the pot, you know, fitted nicely on top there. And you have your gas bottle next to it. Now, one of the things I found, certainly on the first 2 Overland Track trips and a couple that I did in New Zealand since then, is a lot of the times, me included, you'd have like a little pocket rocket stove which sat screwed into the top of your gas bottle, and you'd have that sitting on the bench in front of you. So I thought, I'm going to get one that's more lower, that's going to sit very stable on the top. That's going to be on top, and it's going to be nice and solid on the bench, and then the gas can be next to it. So I'm trying that this time, and we'll see that in action when I get down there. Now, as an absolute backup, I've got a little BRS stove as well. Now this is one of those ones that just sits on top of the gas bottle. It's, you know, not super safe, but it weighs like 25 grams. It's practically nothing. And I thought, well, given that this is unproven, and you know, I don't want to get to day 2 and then the thing sort of craps itself, and now I've got no stove, which would be a disaster because you absolutely need one. So this is a little BRS stove that was literally like $20 off of AliExpress, and super simple, weighs almost nothing, and I'm just taking that as a backup. All right, now what else? Cup. This is my gas bottle I've got. I'll be taking either one big one like this or 2 small ones. I'm not taking this one. You can't take these in a plane. This one lives here. I'll be taking it with me tonight when I go camping, but so we'll get to see it in action. But that's the type of gas we'll be using. That's the propane butane mixture, I think it is. Yeah, 70% butane, 30% propane. So they're the ones you can get pretty much everywhere. All right, it's got some toilet paper. You have to take your own on the Overland Track. They have toilets at the huts. They're like pit toilets, and so you've got to take your own toilet paper and stuff. And now this is one of the things I want to test. This is a new mattress I got. This is an inflatable mattress. It's the Nemo Tensor Regular Wide. I've blown it up and left it up for a couple of days just to make sure it actually stays up, and it did fine. And it seems pretty comfortable now. I got a new one because these are a lot lighter than the self-inflating mattresses, which is what I've used in the past. I think this way it comes in around about half a kilo, and the self-inflating mattresses you're sort of getting up closer to a kilo and beyond. And you know, a few hundred grams makes a big difference when you're going to lug it for 100 kilometers. So I'm going to try this now. I do have another inflating mattress, which I'll show you. I do have this one. It's a Cedar Summit, which I bought a few years ago, and it works absolutely fine. It's actually slightly lighter, and if I'm honest, I was going to take this one, but the one thing I don't like about it, this is the Cedar Summit Ultralight Insulated R, if you're wondering. Fine in every way, but it's noisy. It's a bit crackly. When you're lying on it, it's like you know, that if you get a balloon and you can hear the sound of the balloon. It's like that. Now, if you're in a tent by yourself, you know, no big deal. You don't even think about it. But in the huts where you're on a wooden base and there's, you know, potentially 35 other people in there with you, sort of in the same space, and they're like an echo chamber, I don't want to be the guy that's got the noisy mattress that every time I roll over it's like waking everybody up. So believe it or not, I went and bought another mattress specifically because I watched a couple of reviews and they said it was nice and quiet, and just testing it out here on the wooden floor, it actually was a lot quieter. So anyway, I'm taking that mattress, and we'll get to see how well that works. Now I've got a little pillow. This is just a tiny little thing which I will then wrap my fleece jacket around it just to make it sort of into a better pillow. Got a beanie and some gloves. And I've also got a couple of like buffs, or you know, neck gaiters as well, which, because it's going to get cold, it could even snow, even though it's February and sort of, in theory, it's the warmest time of year. It still does snow in the high country there, and so I'm sort of got to be prepared for the cold. I've got the woolen long johns, which I'll sleep in these. I'm not taking a liner for my sleeping bag because I just feel like it's just extra weight, but I will sleep in these, and a thermal top as well. So they're basically thermal top, thermal bottoms, socks, beanie, or a neck gaiter over my head. So if it's really, really cold, I can cover up everything to here basically, and that layer then inside my sleeping bag, which is the next thing down here, which is it's actually I'm not going to get it out now. I'll get it out later on when I set up the camp. Actually, no, I'm not going to take this with me tonight because this is a sub-zero sleeping bag, and I'm not going to be using that in Singapore. That's going to be 25 degrees tonight. I'm actually going to take this one. This is a little cheapy summer bag I picked up at Decathlon the other day. It's only good to down to 20 degrees, but that's perfect because in the tropics here, you just want you want something very, very light because you really don't need anything at all. So I'm taking that one with me tonight, but on the Overland Track, I'm taking this one, which is a fairy down. I actually bought this in the year 2000, so it's 24 years old, and I've washed it a few times. Basically, at the end of each trip, I just put it in the washing machine with some special down soap, and give it a wash and put it through the dryer for a few hours, and it basically buffs it all up, comes up like new. The thing is, like, it literally looks like the day I bought it. In this section here, I'm going to have two things. First thing is my tent, that's my tent. So it's a Lanshan 1 model, which I got from AliExpress, and it was roughly about $200 for an ultralight tent. It's only like 930 grams. It's pretty cheap, but it still has to be good. I'm going to set it up tonight down at East Coast Park, and we'll get to see how good it is. Now, besides the tent, this is going to be all my spare food. I'm going to sort my food into day packs, like one whole amount of food per day, and as I said, I'll do another video and run through everything I'm taking food wise, and then sort of the ones that I haven't opened yet will all live in here, and hopefully there'll be enough room that I can squeeze that in on top and fit all that in there. If not, worst case scenario, I can actually strap this to the outside here. There's straps that come out of the pack here, and I could strap that to the outside. I'd rather not do that. I hate having things hanging out off the outside of my pack, but certainly after a few days of eating food there'll be enough room, but if there isn't on day one, then I'll just have to strap that on the outside. So that's it, guys. That's the pack tour and the things in it. Now I'll just run through a few other things that weren't in the pack. Little satellite communicator. It's the Garmin InReach Mini 2, which I bought specifically for this trip. There's no reliable phone reception anywhere on the track. Apparently you can get a bit of phone reception on the top of mountains here and there, but you certainly don't rely on it. So you do need some sort of, not every single person needs one, but as long as you've got at least one in your group. Sorry, there's the phone. Okay, I'm back. It's now an hour later. It was actually air conditioner repair technician that turned up and didn't realise that they hadn't made an appointment. So, but they were here, so I had to let him in and get the job done because we needed to get the aircon fixed. Anyway, these are the clothes that I'm taking. So let's go through the layers. So it's all about layering. For a sort of a warm layer, I'm going for a fleece jacket. Now I've got a few sort of puffer jackets, and they're so warm for their weight. You know, the heat, the insulation to weight ratio is fantastic. But the problem is they're absolutely useless if they get wet, and there's a real good chance we're going to get rained on. And things like a fleece will still actually keep you warm even if it gets wet. So as much as it's bulkier and maybe slightly heavier, this is actually very light, but generally they're slightly heavier. They're a little safer as a warm layer, because if this gets soaking wet, I can put it on and I will still actually stay warm. I've got a shirt, which is just, I like wearing a shirt versus the t-shirt sometimes, just because you can roll the sleeves up or down or whatever. It's a little bit more versatile. Couple of t-shirts, and it's all synthetic stuff. I'm not taking any cotton at all. Cotton's completely useless if it gets wet. Couple of pairs of jocks, and these are like bike pants. They're brilliant for wearing underneath your pants because they stop the chafing, which happens sometimes, and you want to try and avoid that. Hiking pants. These are the only pair of pants I'm taking on the whole trip, and they've got the zip-off legs so that if it's warm I can convert them into shorts, or if it gets cold I can zip the legs back on. I do have another pair of pants, but they're just lightweight shorts, and these are just super light. So if I get to the hut at night and I'm soaking wet because it's just been bucketing down, or I fell in a creek or something, I've got something to change into. These will be in a dry bag in my pack, and at least I've got something to put on. I can also use them as bathers if there's an opportunity to go for a swim. Now this is my another warm layer on top. So this is like a little hoodie, thermal top. It's quite well insulated. So I would wear this on a cold night. I will wear this to bed, and it's sort of fleecy inside there. It's quite heavy. Like it's probably a few hundred grams. It's not actually super ultra light because it's designed to be really warm. So imagine if I've got a t-shirt, I've got this, I've got my green fleece jacket there, and then I've got my Gore-Tex jacket over the top. I've got 4 layers, which I'll be totally fine, even if it's sort of -5 degrees and snowing. So that's the idea there. I'll have 2 pairs of socks, which will be my sort of normal wearing my boots socks, and these are not new. I've worn these quite a bit so that I know that they're comfortable. I've got another pair of thick socks, and I've got these thin ones. And the idea here is that if I get sore feet for whatever reason, I can wear both of these, 2 layers. 2 layers of socks are sometimes better than one, because what happens is the inner layer, the thin one, stays on your foot, and the outer layer stays with the boot. So the 2 socks will slip between each other as your feet are moving around, but it reduces the friction on your actual feet. And so if you're finding you're getting blisters or anything like that, then I can switch to this. But I'm probably not going to get blisters, I wouldn't think, because I've broken my boots in and they're well and truly comfortable. But that's an option if I need it. Assuming I don't need it, well then I'll probably use these for socks to wear around in the hut. So I'll get to the hut, take those ones off, the ones I've been wearing my boots, and chuck these ones on, and I can wear these around the hut. I can wear them to bed, and it's another spare pair. Alright, that's it for now, guys. I will get this lot packed up, and yeah, let's get out to the campsite. Just imagining I'm climbing up to Cradle Mountain on day one. Something like this anyway. Bet it's not 28 degrees when I'm at Cradle Mountain. So this is really the first chance I've had to test the pack with something resembling what it's going to be carrying. It's about 1.5 kilometres from our place to the train station. They call it the MRT here, Mass Rapid Transport. And usually you get a train about every 4 minutes, so you never bother looking at a timetable. You just turn up at the station and wait a few minutes until a train comes along. That's where we're heading. The temperature drops pretty dramatically when you come down here. It's beautiful. So that's the whole network there. So I got on here. I'm going to go around through the city, around and up to there. So it's going to take a while. I could get off here and go up there. That's an option. Change trains there. It's probably a bit quicker. Right, we're off the train and we are back on foot. That was a pretty good shortcut though. By changing trains, I'll probably save myself close to 25-30 minutes. So that's good, because I'm not only was it a shorter train ride, but I'm actually now closer to the campground by probably 1 kilometre. This is the East Coast Parkway down here, this main road, which is basically the one that runs along between the suburbs and the beach. Alright, here we are. Almost. Obligatory stop at the 7-Eleven, something cold. Ooh, that's nice. $7.50. It's nice to know there's a 7-Eleven back there if I get starving tonight. So I reckon this could be the spot. Nice view of the ships, and you can hear the waves. Got about an hour of daylight, so I've got to figure out this tent, go and get my pack, and we'll get set up. So this is the little tent, the Lanshan 1, but you need a trekking pole, and I do have a trekking pole. Just the one that I'll be taking, which is a carbon fibre one. It needs to be about 120 centimetres long. This is adjustable, so I can basically set it to whatever length I like. It's literally the first time I've had it open, so I'm figuring this out as we go along here. So the fly and the inner tent are attached to each other, so you don't have to separate them. So these are the pegs that come with it. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 little aluminium pegs. That's pretty good. So I'll peg out the sides. Let's see if we can work out how this goes. Yeah, so there's a hole in the bottom there. I presume that's for the spike at the bottom of the trekking pole. Rubber stopper on there, but that comes off easy enough. So then that spike would go there, presumably, and I can peg that out as well. Obviously this is idyllic conditions for setting up a tent, which is good, because I get to figure it out while it's not blowing a gale and torrential rain and all that sort of stuff. So it's about the right length. Fortunately the ground's very soft, so I can move the pegs around easy enough. Look at that slider in there. Yeah, so the corners both share one peg, but that's sharing a peg. And I've got a spare peg. Obviously I could put a guy rope there, get a bit of tension on that, get a bit of tension on that. There's one in there, and that seals up like that. So I think, oh, here we go, look. I can pull that out there like that too. Let's do that. Alright, so this one puts a bit of tension on the roof and will probably help to actually keep the pole up straight. It does feel very lightweight, there's no doubt about it. It's, you know, you can feel the thinness to it. All the materials are like weighted thin, so it's going to be interesting to see how it holds up in the rain and the wind. Alright, let's look inside and see if we've got a bit more space now. Yeah, that's better. Much better pitch. That's good. So that's the situation up there. I'm sure that that's going to be super stable if it gets really windy. I took the peg out. I had a peg here originally, but I took it out because I need another one for these guy ropes. And so yeah, really could do with a couple extra pegs. One in there and potentially one for this guy rope here. I do have that guy rope, came with it. But there's not enough pegs, so I'll see if I can pick up a few more next week before I go. But I'm pretty happy with that. Like I mean it's very, very mild conditions here, so this is not a real test, but at least now I know how it goes together. So if I get down the Overland Track and it's absolutely hectic weather-wise and I need to set up, at least I now have a picture in my mind of how it all goes, and I won't be doing that, you know, trying to figure it out while I'm getting smashed by the weather. And one thing I forgot to mention before with the pack here, when I was at home, was that the front actually zips open. So you can actually open it on the front there. And then it's got these sort of straps so you can pull everything in tight, which is pretty good really. It sort of makes it a little bit more travel pack like. But I think that's a pretty good feature. It means I don't have to pull everything out from the top to get, you know, what's down the bottom here. I can just literally come in from the front like this. And grab my sleeping bag out and mattress. The idea with these things is you just fill up the bag over there, squeeze it in. Park the pack down there. So later on after dinner I'll tell you the story about why I was walking along this path here at about 5 AM a couple of months ago. See our toilet blocks over there. I'm going to go and see if they've got any showers in there. Alright, I've got midnight munchies sorted anyway. Now that's cool. So the idea here is that screws into that. And that can just sit flat on the table. So that's a pretty decent flame anyway. And it's a fair bit of control with the little dial up there. You don't want to get too carried away, otherwise all the heat's just pouring out the side of the pot. I'm not trying to keep it under the pot. We just wait now. Let me know if you see it boiling, alright? Alright, she's boiling, so the noodles go in. Will they fit? Shit. That's a wee worry. Sing that for 7 minutes. I don't know if I can wait that long, I'm too hungry. That was 7 minutes. Let's see what we got here, eh? It's a laksa. It's actually pretty good for what's basically about a $2 packet of noodles. It tastes great, it's very spicy. It's been a hell of a day. I've walked 30,596 steps today. I've shot 2 videos, this one and the last one. Seen a snake. I saw a black cobra, which just about trod on the thing. So yeah, look, awesome day guys. I'm just about out of steam, so I thought I'd just tell you the story about me walking through here at 5 AM one night. It was about 2 months ago, and I'd entered an event
called Let's Take a Walk Singapore, and the gist of it was there's a charity fundraiser, sort of, you know, extreme walk event. There was various lengths you could walk: 5Ks, 20Ks, 50Ks or 100Ks, and I signed up for the 100Ks, of course. It started in the sports hub, which is down near the city, and started at 7 a.m. on Saturday morning, and you had 33 hours to finish. You had to finish within 33 hours. Well, I set myself a goal of getting it done in 24 hours. So anyway, the walk starts at Sports Hub 7 a.m. Saturday morning, and it goes into the city, round Marina Bay, up the Singapore River, and sort of into the centre of Singapore, past the reservoirs in the middle, up to the north coast, and then right around the east coast. And it includes coming through here. And by the time you get to here, you've got about less than 10 kilometres to go to the finish line.
Split 90. Split pace, 12 minutes, 43 seconds per kilometre.
Hey, a big 9-0. 10 k's to go.
As I was coming through here, the East Coast Park, I don't know how exactly long, but it's probably 10 or 12 kilometres long, this whole stretch here. And so it was like in the small hours of the morning, you know, 3, 4, 5 o'clock. Very quiet, obviously that time of day. Except for the occasional, like, motorised electric scooter or something just come whizzing past, and you know, no lights or anything, just flying on past.
And I'm going to go home and just collapse in a heap. I don't know what that was, but it was small and very fast.
And I was absolutely knackered. By the time I got to this point, I was just in some sort of a zombie shuffle kind of mode, just trying to just get one foot after the other. If you are wondering whether I finished it within 24 hours, it was very, very close. Very, very close.
Oh. There's just nothing left. Where's the finish line?
I actually filmed it all, and I'm just about finished making a video about that. When I finish that, I'll put a link to it up here or wherever it is on the screen, and I'll put it in the comments, and you can go and actually have a look at it. But yeah, it was good. It was a hell of an event. So I got a pretty reasonable sleep last night. The mattress was very good, quite comfortable, and it actually was very quiet, as I was hoping it would be. Rolling around didn't really sort of make any real noise at all, so that's a win. Yeah, the tent's okay. I mean, it hasn't had any real work to do yet, but it's pretty small. Like I sort of found that even with those guy ropes at the end, there was times when I'd roll over and I'd actually be leaning on the mesh on the inside, which is not ideal. If there's mosquitoes and that around. Fortunately, there was no mozzies here at all last night, so I had the actual mesh door open for a big part of the night just to let a bit of breeze in because it was pretty hot. But yeah, look, I think it'll be okay for the trip. We'll get at least a few nights use down the Overland Track, and yeah, see how it holds up. So I'm going to finish my coffee and then head home, and when I get there, I'll run through what's in my ditty bag and what I'm doing for communications while I'm on the track, because there's no phone range, no reliable phone range anywhere on the track. So I'll go through what I'm doing with that, and then that'll be the end of this video, and then I'll get started on the next one, which will be running through all the food that I'm going to take, what I've chosen, why, how many calories, all that sort of stuff. I'll just finish this and we'll hit the road.
Alright guys, well I've made it home, and before I ran off this video I just wanted to quickly go through what's in my ditty bag, because I didn't get a chance to do it earlier on when I was running through the rest of my gear. So let's do that. Now, ditty bag is just literally a bits and pieces bag. This is all the little things that you want to take with you and trying to keep it all together so it's not all scattered through your pack. And I use this Mountain Designs dry bag as mine, which I've had for years and is, you know, still going strong. And in here I've got a few different things. So this is like it's a little super lightweight toiletry pouch, which I picked up from a travel shop. and it weighs almost nothing, but it's very handy to sort of hold everything together. So this is like first aid, toiletries, you know, headache tablets, all that sort of stuff. I'll give you a quick overview of what's in there in a sec. This is my towel. It's actually a you know, one of these lightweight hiking towels that comes in a little pouch. So that's it. So if I go you know, find a nice beach somewhere and I want to lay out and get a suntan, that's all I've got to lie on. So not sure it's going to be enough, but you know, we'll make do. It weighs almost nothing, and that's the main thing. I've got some paracord. Now, this is a length of paracord, probably about the thickness of you know, your bootlaces, because worst comes to worst, I could use it for bootlaces. I could cut a piece off and melt the ends, make bootlaces out of it, so that it acts as spare bootlaces. It also acts as additional tent guy ropes if I need it. I can make a clothesline out of it to hang stuff up. Very, very handy. There's about 3 or 4 meters of paracord there, so you definitely want some of that. I've got some roll-on antiperspirant stuff. That's pretty much all I'll be doing for a shower for a week, so that's really for more everybody else's benefit than mine. But anyway, it's a bit heavy, but you know, it is what it is. And I've got a little tube of sunscreen. I put some into this little travel pouch thing here like this, just because it's lighter, and I keep it in a Ziploc bag because invariably these things get squashed and burst, and if it does, I don't want it sort of contaminating everything else. I've got some a couple little packs of tissues. You know, there's every chance I could catch a cold, I could catch COVID on the way there. You know, they could come in handy. I've got various different types of painkillers. Not a huge amount of every one. I'm not expecting to need many. Hopefully I won't, but sort of different things for different situations. So I've got some cold and flu, Panadol cold and flu. I've got some Nurofen, ibuprofen, more for inflammatory stuff, you know, sort of sore knees, sore ankles, that sort of stuff. And I've got some Panadol Advance, which are more for, you know, just got a headache or whatever. And some aspirin, which is sort of general lightweight anti-inflammatory. If, you know, aches and pains but not specifically injuries, then I'll take some of those. So that's all I've got of each one. Reality is all of them act as painkillers. If I needed, you know, I could use any or all of them interchangeably, but I figure rather than taking all of one type or all of another, I may as well take a bit of everything, and I can kind of use whichever's most appropriate at the time. These are magnesium supplement tablets. I find that magnesium helps muscle recovery, and also helps keep your digestive system working good. So taking a couple of those a day, just to sort of, you know, grease the wheels, so to speak. I've got some effervescent electrolyte tablets. The goal is to basically take one of those a day. They'll also act if, you know, if I've got diarrhea or something like that. These would come in handy, but if I don't, then I'll just generally take one a day anyway. A little tube of, it's called Mycoban. It's actually an antifungal cream. Occasionally you get a bit of fungal sort of business going on. Don't need a massive tube of it, just the last bits of that particular tube. Got a couple of spare, these are the little feet off the bottom of hiking stick, of the trekking pole. What am I going to call it? It's a trekking pole. Just in case I lose one or two. These weigh almost nothing, and they fit on as replacements. I've got a stretch bandage for, you know, injured knee, injured ankle. Could potentially use it as a snake bite bandage if it came to it. I've got a couple of these. I've got 3 of these little bulldog clips, which I'm basically using as pegs. That's the idea. If I need to hang some clothes out on my little clothesline, or if I want to wash something and hang it on my pack and sort of let it dry while I hike, then I figure these are a lot better than you know, normal sort of pegs that you'd use on a clothesline, because they're super strong and I don't want anything falling off or blowing away in the wind and that sort of thing. So I've got 3 of those. Got some Senna tablets. These are sort of like a mild laxative. Hopefully I won't need those, but you know, if you need them, you need them. Got some betadine antiseptic cream. I've got a little thing of moisturizer. You know, you've got to keep the beauty routine going, and that's it. So that's everything. There's 2 packs of tissues in there. Now in the side pockets, I've got a packet of different sorts of band-aids, including sort of blister band-aids, a variety of different sizes and shapes. I've got some lens wipes for my glasses, for the camera lenses, things like that. AirTag in there, that's sort of so that as it's all going through the airport, I don't lose it. I got these patches. These are patches which will go on if my airbed gets a hole in it. These are glueless patches, you literally just peel and stick. So I figured let's chuck those in. They're only a few bucks from Decathlon. You never know. You never know when you're going to need them. Tiny little sewing kit which I got from a hotel at some point that weighs practically nothing. So it's like about having sort of tools to fix a variety of different things, but all of it weighing almost nothing. Some earplugs, because it can get a bit noisy in the huts at night, especially people snoring and things like that. These are rubber O-rings that go in the Sawyer Squeeze water filter, and they're just spare ones. Not that I think that the one that's in there would wear out, but if it accidentally falls out and I lose it. And what else? And just a little tiny pocket knife. Now it's not the sort of trip where I'll be doing a lot of sort of bushcraft, but you know, having a little pocket knife which weighs almost nothing but has the basic essentials on it. It's got a little sharp knife, it's got a nail file, it's got probably the thing I'll use the most is it's got these little scissors. It's also got a little set of tweezers, handy for getting splinters out. You know, I've got a dozen different knives and things like that, but I just need something tiny that weighs almost nothing that will get me out of a pinch in most situations. Then on the other side, I've got my toothbrush. I haven't cut the handle off. If I was an obsessive through hiker that was going for, you know, some ridiculous lightweight pack, then I would, you know, cut my toothbrush down, but I'm not going to get that carried away. A couple of little tubes of toothpaste. Now you get all this stuff whenever you go international flights, especially at night time. They often give you these little bags of you know, toiletries and stuff, and I always keep these things because they're just handy for you know, this type of thing. A couple of little tiny toothpaste tubes and some nail clippers. So that's pretty much it. So that's pretty much all my toiletries, all my first aid, and all my just bits and pieces of things that I might need along the way. Now last night when I set up the tent for the first time, I realised that it was a couple of pegs short. So I've grabbed these pegs, these are lightweight aluminium ones, out of my other Sierra Designs tent, which I've been using for 20 odd years, which is a brilliant tent. It's just a bit heavy. It's about almost a kilo heavier than this new one. So I've stolen a couple of pegs out of it, and I'll take those with me. Earlier on I talked about the fact that I'm taking a InReach Mini 2 communicator. I sort of, in hindsight, felt like I probably should have elaborated on that a bit more. This is not absolutely essential, but I figured, you know, the time has come for me to bite the bullet and get one of those. And so this will be the first trip that I've actually used one of these. What I've always carried though forever is a EPIRB. It's a PLB. It's a personal locator beacon. As an absolute minimum, you should have something like this. Now this particular brand, KTI, is not available anymore, but this will still work because it's still functional. But once it reaches its 10-year expiry, that'll be the end of it. It expires in July 2028. So this is not a communicator, this is an emergency beacon. So if something happens, snake bite, fall over and injure yourself, you know, seriously injured, like need the sort of situation where you would call an ambulance in the real world, that's when you would fire off this beacon. That sends a distress signal out via satellite, and emergency services will come and see what's going on. As much as it's a good strong signal, it is only a one-way communications device. It's going to just send out a signal with your GPS coordinates and that's it. The Garmin InReach Mini 2 and others like them is a lot more intelligent. Now this has an SOS function as well, but you can actually send two-way conversations. You can have a text message backwards and forwards with people. You can send check-in messages just to say I've made it to camp and everything's okay. Having one of these in your group is a little better than having one of those, but as an absolute minimum you want one of those because, you know, if something goes wrong you need to be able to call for help. I'm not going to bother taking that one because I'm going to take that one. And Zach has also got an InReach. I'm not sure if it's this exact model, but so between the four of us we'll have two InReaches between us, and even if we split up into 2 and 2 we can basically communicate backwards and forwards. So I think I've given you a pretty good overview of all the gear that I'm taking. Don't forget you can actually go and have a look at the lighterpack.com website. I've got the link in the description below, and I'll put it up here on the screen so that you can actually see all the gear that I've got in detail, how much it weighs and that sort of stuff. And you can use that as a start. You know, create your own lighterpack.com account and build your own gear list, but at least you can see the nuts and bolts of what I'm taking with me. So make sure you have a look at that. I'm going to get packed up and sort of move a bit closer to getting organised for this trip. Subscribe if you haven't already. Give this video a like, and I will see you in the next video very soon. Cheers guys.